The title of today's source, Lost in the Supermarket, is pretty brilliant. And it's not just a great nod to the classic song by The Clash. It's really getting at this powerful, kind of provocative idea. What if the most important political move you make isn't in a voting booth, but in the grocery aisle? Right from the start, the book opens with this dedication. And it just immediately throws us into the messy, complicated reality of trying to do the right thing. It's this perfect acknowledgement that, look, none of us are perfect saints, right? But maybe all our small, sometimes even contradictory efforts, maybe they actually do matter. It just sets the stage so well for what we're about to dive into. And that really brings us to the absolute core question of this whole thing. I mean, think about it. When you choose oat milk over dairy, or you pick a local brand over some massive multinational corporation, are you just buying stuff? Or are you, in a way, casting a vote for the kind of world you want to live in?
To even begin to answer that, we've got to get our heads around this really powerful concept that's at the heart of this entire discussion. It's got a name, and trust me, once you hear it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere.
This is it, political consumerism. Now, the key word here, the one that changes everything, is deliberately. This isn't just you accidentally picking one brand over another. This is the conscious choice, the intention to use the marketplace as a tool for change. It's about turning a simple transaction into a statement. And this whole idea basically breaks down into two main actions. On one side, you have the boycott. That's the classic protest, right? You refuse to buy something to punish a company for its practices. But on the other side, you have the buycott, and that's where you actively use your money to support and reward companies you think are doing good things. One is the stick, and the other is the carrot. And please, don't think for a second that this is some small fringe movement. Get this number, £141 billion. That is the value of ethical purchases in the UK in 2023 alone. That's a huge economic force. It shows that millions and millions of people are literally putting their money where their values are. And that transforms personal ethics into some serious collective economic power. So the really crucial question is why? Why is this happening now on such a big scale? Well, the research suggests it's directly tied to this growing disillusionment with traditional politics. When people, especially younger generations, feel like politicians aren't listening or that the system is broken, they start looking for other places where their voice can actually be heard and make an immediate impact. And the shopping aisle becomes that place. Now, here's where it gets really fascinating. This whole phenomenon, it doesn't look the same everywhere you go. The reasons people vote with their wallets and the ways they do it are totally shaped by their country's economy and social situation. And that leads to this really important comparison. The source material draws this really sharp contrast between two different models. So in a place like the UK, a liberal market economy, political consumerism is often what they call a movement of affluence. It's driven by post-materialist values, things like animal rights or environmentalism. But then you look at Greece, a mixed market economy that's been hit so hard by austerity, and it becomes a movement of scarcity. It's driven by grievance, by national pride, and by this desperate need for solidarity to support the local economy in a time of crisis. This table just lays out the difference so clearly. In the UK, with this huge variety of choice, the main action is boycotting. You're rewarding the good guys. In Greece, it's way more often about boycotting, punishing the ones seen as harmful. The motivations are just worlds apart. And so is how they even see the market itself. Shoppers in the UK see this wide open field of ethical options, while a lot of people in Greece feel like they're facing an illusion of choice, where just a few powerful supermarket chains control everything. And this chart, wow, this chart reveals something really profound. In both countries, young people are more satisfied with the information they get from the market, from brands, from labels, than from politicians. But just look at that gap in Greece. It's enormous. This tells us that for so many people, the marketplace actually feels more transparent, more responsive, and frankly, more trustworthy than their entire political system. Okay, so this huge shift in trust didn't just happen by accident. It's actually rooted in a really powerful ideology that has completely reshaped how we think about our role in society over the last few decades. The term for it is neoliberal governmentality. I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple, and you see it everywhere. It's this whole philosophy that the best way to run a society is like a business. Everything, and I mean everything, becomes a marketplace. And under that logic, the role of a citizen kind of gets swallowed up by the role of a consumer. Your main civic duty isn't to vote, it's to choose wisely. You become a citizen consumer. And you can totally see the appeal, can't you? Unlike an election that happens every few years, your wallet gives you a vote every single day, maybe multiple times a day.
The feedback is immediate. If enough people buy a product, the company makes more of it. If people boycott it, it disappears from the shelves. It offers this incredible sense of direct power and agency that traditional politics so often fails to provide.
The sociologist Ulrich Beck actually breaks down how we get here in 3 stages. It's like a journey. First, we become disembedded. We're freed from those old loyalties like political parties or even social class. Then comes disenchantment, that feeling of powerlessness, like formal politics is just distant and totally ineffective. And finally, we re-embed ourselves. We find a new sense of identity and purpose through the choices we make in the marketplace. It's a fundamental psychological shift from the ballot box to the shopping cart. So we've established this massive shift towards the market. But what does it actually feel like for the people who are doing it? And what are the ultimate consequences of seeing our world this way?
This quote from a young person in Greece, it just cuts right to the heart of it all. You can hear the frustration, right? The impatience with a political system that feels so slow, so broken. And you can feel the energy behind turning to what feels direct and tangible and real, taking individual responsibility and working with others to create change, like right now.
But this all leads us to the central paradox, the big problem at the center of it all. Does fighting the system from inside the supermarket actually work? I mean, there's a deep irony here, right? The very act of trying to resist capitalism might be the most capitalist thing you can do, because you're still consuming. This whole approach can also put the burden of huge problems like climate change onto individual shoppers, basically asking us to recycle our way out of a systemic crisis. So the big question is, does this movement truly challenge corporate power? Or does it just encourage corporations to create new ethical product lines for a new niche market?
But then again, the more hopeful way to look at it is that this isn't just about individualism. The source argues that it's a deeply collective act. When you buy that fair trade product, you're not just buying coffee. You're connecting with this imagined community of thousands of other people who share your values. It's an attempt to find meaning and rebuild a sense of connection in a culture that can feel so isolating and transactional. And that leaves us right back where we started, lost in the supermarket, wrestling with our choices. What happens in these aisles is a clear reflection of our politics, our economies, and our deepest values. The crucial question we have to ask ourselves is this: when we choose one product over another, are we actually forging a path of genuine resistance? Or are we simply choosing which brand of resistance we'd like to buy today? The answer, it seems, is still being scanned at the checkout.